this is a very attractive-looking, angry mob. I know I'm in friendly territory, in the land of Michael Moore, right? Yeah. Over there, right? Boo! Oh, terrorism. It is such an honor, and it is always invigorating for me to be with the people who understand that the government is supposed to represent we the people.
Amen.
Not we the cronies, not we the crap weasels, not they the lying liars. I love this. We've got the Filipinos contingent over here. Now, a lot of you know me from the little box on TV. Yes, I'm that short woman with a big mouth. But for those of you who aren't familiar with my work and where I come from and why I am so proud to stand with Americans for Prosperity, I want to give you a little nutshell about my background. Because this is what the left and the progressives are very good at. They're very good at storytelling. And the difference between our stories and their stories is that our stories are grounded in truth. And their stories are grounded in unreality. I am the daughter of legal Filipino immigrants who came to this country in 1970. And from the time that I was old enough to understand, my parents always reminded me that we were blessed to be here. That it was a privilege to be here, not an entitlement. And that we were entitled to nothing in our lives. My parents had a very hard work ethic. They came here with nothing, knew nobody, had no crony connections in government or politics, and worked really hard, and believed in individual initiative, believed in free enterprise, free markets, and free minds. And when I went off to college, believe it or not, I survived a small, radical liberal college called Oberlin College in Ohio. Or rather, they survived me. What they do with these tenured radicals in America's institutions of higher learning is ingrain everything that's antithetical to the American dream. Identity politics, collectivism, poisonous grievance politics, the kind of things that we see slung at us from 1600 Pennsylvania over the last 4 years. And I reject the idea of this radical liberal orthodoxy that I am entitled to anything and that they are entitled to my mind and my brain and my parts. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, I want to make this family safe, but I am just slayed by the kind of rhetoric and the desperation that is coming out of the current leadership in Washington. What are we worried about outside of the Beltway Manhattan bubble? We're worried about unemployment. We're worried about $16 trillion in debt. We're worried about our national security, and all they can do is yammer about birth control. I'm worried about command and control. I'm worried about teaching my children about self-control and discipline in our home, and discipline in our budget, and discipline in the budget in Washington. You know, several years ago, in 2009, in the very incipient days of the Tea Party movement, before it was even called the Tea Party movement, I was hearing from people all over the country who were extremely frustrated because they were disgusted not just with the Democrats and the progressive left. They were disgusted with people who had an R by their name, who paid lip service to free market values, who paid lip service to fiscal discipline, and then voted the other way, and betrayed the very constituency and the very principles of the Founding Fathers that got them elected to office in the first place. And this is why we finally rose up. This is what gave birth to the Tea Party movement. It was a voice not just against Obama, not just against the Democrats, but against every Beltway barnacle incumbent in Washington who has forgotten where they came from. People ask me, how do we get people to understand? You know, I wrote this book, Culture of Corruption, Obama and his team of tax cheats, crooks, and cronies. And it took a long time for some people to understand. I guess we're a nation of slow learners. But they're finally coming around. Their eyes are finally being opened to the delusion of hope and change. The best we can do is argue with facts and rationality and civility, all of the traits of a civil society that have been sabotaged and undermined by the mob scene, by these occupiers. And every parent and grandparent has a special responsibility to immunize your children against this virus of progressivism and to show the results and compare the rhetoric to the record. Let's take that porculus, shall we? $1 trillion. And we knew before this thing was rammed down our throats that this was going to essentially be another huge, massive slush fund, another vehicle for redistributionism, for cronies, and for ghost congressional districts, and for bizarro research, shrimp on treadmills. I'm not making it up. And all of the egghead economic saboteurs in the White House, the smarty pants with all the Ivy League degrees, and their whiteboards, and their deification of the government's view of innovation and growth and job creation, told us that we needed to pass that thing right away, emergency legislation, $1 trillion injection, and that by now, the unemployment rate would be less than 6%. Maybe in la-la land, not in the real world. And now these people tell us that the reason why it didn't work was it wasn't big enough.
Do it again.
Well, you know what they always say, the definition of insanity is doing the failed wrong thing over and over and over again. And this, of course, is the choice that we face. Insanity or reality? I pick reality. How about you? Every single policy, massive intervention that we have seen over the last 4 years, whether it was rammed down our throats, behind closed doors, deals that were done with every last Chicago pal and bundler. Oh, do you remember? This was a big promise of the cleaner-upper in chief. They were going to change all of the ways of Washington. We were going to get transparency. Yeah. He lied, transparency died.
Bill on the internet, yeah.
Well, there's been a huge death toll, of course, both figuratively and literally, if you look at the jobs death toll that has been presided over by this current administration. And in many cases, the jobs are hidden. And I'm not just talking about all of the manufactured and rejiggered math, the liberal math of this administration, and all of those phony job reports that we've seen. I'm talking about the people who no longer want to enter the medical profession as a result of Obamacare. These are the hidden liabilities and the hidden consequences that need to come to light.